Japan Travel Smart Podcast is an original standalone media project. We are currently unaffiliated with any travel agency service or similar commercial venture. This is Japan Travel Smart. My name's Johnny, and I hope you join me to discover a better Japan travel experience. Welcome back to Japan Travel Smart. This is your travel companion Johnny, and this is journey number 18. Smart to visit, trendy neighborhoods in Western Tokyo. Japan Travel Smart is a bi-weekly podcast all about the joy of travel through Japan, far and wide, from the perspective of a frequent visitor who just can't get enough of the place that does it best. This is your one-stop shop for the very best of Japan travel, including novel advice and Japan-specific tips to keep you ahead of the game. We cater to first-time and repeat Japan visitors alike in hopes of making the country shine at its very best, regardless of interest, budget, or time of year. Tokyo. What is there to say about the city that hasn't been said already? It's huge, it's bustling, it's vibrant, and everyone is here. This is the largest metropolis in the entire world, and likely to be the main draw for many a visit to Japan. The vast majority of tourist traffic gravitates around several core districts and city centers, including Shinjuku, Shibuya, and Asakusa. But what can be experienced beyond the skyscraper districts of Tokyo? As it turns out, there is a great wealth of Tokyo to discover in the sprawling residential and suburban expanse heading toward the west of the city. And on this episode of the show, we'll explain how a trendy neighborhood of Western Tokyo can easily be the highlight of a Japan trip, just like it's been for us. With the benefit of being right at Tokyo's doorstep, the suburban areas that comprise Western Tokyo are regarded as some of the most livable and desirable areas anywhere in Japan. The favorable and convenient location, the well-established neighborhoods, and highly accessible transport and city services all contribute to the optimal conditions found on the western side of Tokyo. The natural end result is some of Tokyo's most dynamic and vibrant communities to check out and get to know, along with the corresponding shops, eateries, and attractions. When the topic of Western Tokyo is brought up, it's commonly referred to as the Tama area, or Tama region, which is to say the area beyond the 23 special wards of Tokyo. It can get a bit tricky to pin down all the administrative minutiae, but for the purpose of this discussion, we want to talk about some interesting areas starting immediately west of Tokyo's center districts, as well as places in the proper Tama region, which actually extends pretty far to the west while still being part of Tokyo. One of the main ways to start heading out into Western Tokyo is on the path of the JR Chuo line, as it curves out of Shinjuku Station and then follows its path toward Nakano and beyond, a path that, incidentally, is so straight in contrast to everything else running through Tokyo, it's almost unsettling. In any case, one of the very first areas of interest is not far on this path, and admittedly already fairly popular with international tourists. We are of course talking about Nakano and its landmark Nakano Broadway. Nakano Broadway is a commercial complex specifically hosting many shops related to otaku subcultures, including anime and manga merchandise, and in general considered a more low-key alternative to Akihabara on the opposite side of Tokyo, with perhaps an even greater focus on vintage and second-hand items. Nakano is very much a commercial district with a wealth of shopping options and eateries, including its shopping arcade heading north from the station, with a definite focus on youth culture. At the very next stop over from Nakano lies another standout neighborhood, Koenji. Koenji is an area that maintains a vibe of previous decades of Tokyo history, harkening back to tumultuous student activism and counterculture movements that define the character of the area today. Koenji features a good number of low-key live music venues, catering to a myriad of alternative genres and musical interests. The shops in Koenji definitely place a greater focus on vintage clothing and second-hand fashion compared to the big shops of central Tokyo. We think that overall, the idea to pair Nakano and Koenji can be a very straightforward and convenient option to start getting to know areas right outside the skyscraper districts of Tokyo. Even further along the Chuo line eventually gets us to the areas of Mitaka and Kichijoji, which are actually among our preferred locations on this write-up that have also received repeat visits from us. People in Japan seem to agree with this notion because Kichijoji is usually a first choice for the most desirable neighborhoods to live in Tokyo. This is the location of one of the better known and highly regarded parks in the city, the spacious Inokashira Park. The pond area in the park is especially noteworthy to check out and enjoy during the spring cherry blossom bloom, as well as during autumn. Cicadas are making an incredible racket in this park during the summer months. Within Inokashira Park is also where you can find one of the long-standing attractions in Tokyo, hugely popular with both locals and overseas visitors, which is the Ghibli Museum. The museum is an impressive and elaborate homage to the output of the multiple Academy Award-winning animation studio, including memorable life-size displays related to My Neighbor Totoro and Castle in the Sky. One of the notable perks of visiting for Ghibli fanatics is the ability to see one of several available short films that are only ever screened at the theater room of the museum. We also do recommend stopping by the museum cafe to pick up the specially themed Pilsner beer product. The beer bottles feature superb artwork inspired by Nausicaa's Valley of the Wind. The sprawling museum grounds span multiple floors, and there is no recommended route for you to take. You're encouraged to explore the place as you please. Admittance to the Ghibli Museum and Mitaka is only available through advanced reservations, and tickets are sold out well in advance, so be sure to research and plan ahead for your trip. We will also be designating the Ghibli Museum as one of our Japan Travel Smart top locations in Japan for its amazingly detailed and creative layout and exhibits exactly as you would expect from a place inspired in the world of Ghibli. Back on the Kichijoji main street and alleys, we also want to bring attention to a festival happening in the area on a specified weekend in mid-September, the Kichijoji Autumn Festival. Mikoshi, or portable shrines, are paraded around town from the main Hachimangu shrine. Expect large crowds and characteristically prolonged celebrations through the afternoon at Kichijoji's main street, as well as food stands back at the shrine grounds. Things get especially lively in Kichijoji at night around the standing bar areas on the narrow alleyways near the main station. This bar area is known as Harmonica Yokocho, and it's a great spot to enjoy grilled yakitori. The Kichijoji area is very well connected with central Tokyo, with an additional rail link available to Shibuya, besides the aforementioned Chuo line option. It takes 14 minutes from Shinjuku on the Chuo line and 16 minutes from Shibuya on the Keio Inokashira line. Next up, we're highlighting a couple of neighborhoods located at Setagaya Ward, which is still not far from Shibuya, making these places highly accessible with much more laid-back vibes. The first of them is none other than Shimokitazawa. Shimokitazawa has already got to become fairly well known, and it's characterized as a bohemian town of Tokyo that gathers artist and musician types. Shimokita, as it's often called, is a place to peruse thrift, but it's also pretty well regarded as a place for lovers of Japanese curry, and you'll find no shortage of options to enjoy perhaps spicier than usual, but still comfortable renditions of the essential Japanese staple in the numerous cafes and restaurants around Shimokitazawa Station. Some of the cafes have very creative and original decor and vibe. Shimokita also happens to be a good place for finding antiques and to shop for souvenirs and handcrafts to bring back home. Be sure to explore the town on the winding alleys of Ichibangai and Suzuran-dori, where you're going to find these shops and boutiques, and you can spend a lot of time perusing wares and finding better deals compared to its big brother of Shibuya. Shimokitazawa is just 3 minutes on the train from Shinjuku and 5 minutes from Shibuya. It's especially recommended to come on the weekend when there's most activity in this town. Not very far from Shimokita is the even more low-profile but no less trendy and attractive neighborhood of Sangenjaya. The town center area around Sangenjaya Station is a pretty tight-knit community of local residents, but they are used to seeing visitors and curious passers-by due to this town's newfound inspiration in a popular media work. Nevertheless, this is our pick for a chill and artsy Tokyo neighborhood with a true unspoiled feel. Rest assured, the local shops and businesses will be more than happy to take your patronage. We found some pretty stellar bakeries and donut shops right in this area, although the place is historically associated with tea, as Sangenjaya is called the town of the 3 tea houses, which served as a rest stop for passing travelers in the Edo period. The interesting thing about wanting to come here for tea is that you have the option to enjoy it in a standard tea house just like most others, and there's also the option of a hyper-modern and minimalistic tea house in town, serving sophisticated matcha brews. Sangenjaya will also do well for us as a neighborhood to get to see the most forward-looking of Tokyo residents in their native habitat. If you're here on a weekend or holiday, you may be able to catch a local event at Sangenjaya Fureai Square. They had a little something with food concessions when we were there. Sangenjaya is 5 minutes from Shibuya on the Tokyo Denentoshi line. We also wanted to talk about an event that we attended not far from Sangenjaya. Heading even deeper into Setagaya Ward on the local bus is how we got to Tokyo Ramen Festa, a once-a-year week-long event around autumn. Ramen specialists from all over Japan come to offer their best efforts at the largest open-air ramen fair in the country. You can catch all the action at Komazawa Olympic Park, but we definitely recommend you pick up your meal tickets in advance from your local convenience store ticket machine. Once again, that's Tokyo Ramen Festa at the Setagaya Ward of Western Tokyo. Now we'd thought to talk about a neighborhood a bit farther out in the proper Tama area of Tokyo. Fuchu is a suburban commuter town for central Tokyo, but it also has a number of unique attractions that make it worth checking out. We've been to Fuchu specifically to take a tour of the Suntory Musashino Brewery. The brand is best known for whiskey, but this facility and tour is all about their malts beer product. You will get to be walked through the full brewing process with a complimentary tasting session at the end. We've been to a good number of this type of tour of a legacy brewery, and I'll say this was one that had their element best put together. You'll probably quickly recognize that this is the type of experience that Japan tends to take to the next level, and for an almost cursory cost of admission too, which is always welcome. The area of Fuchu is also the site of the storied Tokyo Racecourse, the largest horse racing venue in Japan. Definitely worth considering during this season, and you might be surprised to learn that Japan offers a much more family-friendly environment for this spectator activity compared to what may be in your home country. Being in Fuchu also offers the option to get up close to the Tama River, which of course runs through much of western Tokyo. There's an open-air museum available to visit where you'll see restored buildings designated as cultural properties. You'll be bound to find surprises when you decide to venture out to alternative locations like Fuchu on your Tokyo trip. Being well away from the hustle and bustle of the city, Mount Fuji will be visible without much trouble on a clear day. Fuchu can be reached on a train in 25 minutes from Shinjuku on the Keio line. In addition to the locations detailed so far, we're going to offer a quick overview of some other locations of note to explore around western Tokyo. Heading further on the edge of the Tama area is where we can find one of the preferred nature escapades for Tokyo residents in Mount Takao. This is one of the most accessible peaks to head up with cable car and chairlift access to the mountain's heights. Tachikawa is the location for the largest public park in Tokyo, which is Showa Kinen. The park is spacious enough to dedicate your day to exploring it. The actual city area of Tama is where you can find the famous Sanrio Puroland, the Hello Kitty-themed amusement park. The space hosts live shows featuring all the popular Sanrio characters. Despite being a foreign creation, Snoopy the Beagle is another character that enjoys immense popularity in Japan. You can find a museum dedicated to him at the Snoopy Museum at Minami Machida Granberry Park in the city of Machida in western Tokyo. You can enjoy a nice onsen soak at the bathing super complex of Stadium Japon, located at the Higashi-Kurume area of western Tokyo. Finally, the sparsely populated and remote Okutama area is the farthest you can be from the city while still being in western Tokyo within the limits of Tokyo. Okutama is ideal for camping and hiking activities, as well as for natural hot springs visits. Western Tokyo won't be a bad choice at all if you intend to seek alternatives to the usual crowded tourist spots during your trip to this city. Tokyo residents have a bit of a reputation for being distant and blasé, but you should find the people to be much more personable when you make the time to visit the different parts featured on today's episode. So for that reason alone, we definitely recommend checking them out. I am sure that I mentioned at least one thing today that is right up your alley, so feel free to consider spreading out your itinerary from the main areas of central Tokyo. We really think you'll be glad you did, and that you might even stumble upon the best time of your trip. Thanks for tuning in. As always, you can find the names of all the locations mentioned today in the podcast show notes. Here at Japan Travel Smart, we are on a mission to make travel in Japan better for everyone. In keeping with that stated purpose, we are completely open to your feedback and suggestions. Is there anything you'd like to tell us? Write to the pod at japantravelsmart@gmail.com. We want to hear from you. My name's Johnny, and I'm signing off with your reminder to, above all, be smart, and everything else will fall in place.